everyone.
Hi.
And we're back with the final chapter of our History of Perfume series, which I feel like started last year at some point.
Well, unless we stay on YouTube for the next 50 years, and then we'll have to keep adding to it.
Exactly. But for this one, we're looking at the years 2000 till the present day.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness. Look
Lots.
at, how many perfumes for a start there are on the market. And thanks to Michael Edwards' website for this. Michael Edwards has an amazing website. Fragrances of the World is his brand, if you like. And there is a database that we subscribe to here at our office, and we can pull up certain stats. And I was gobsmacked.
Yes. We all knew it had grown a lot, the industry, in the last 15 years, but it's crazy.
It is, because listen to this. In 2000, which is where we left off our last video, guess how many fragrances launched that year?
A few hundred.
Yeah, so 450 new fragrances appeared on the market in the year 2000. Guess how many appeared last year in 2016?
Thousands.
Okay, you won't believe this. 2.2 thousand, so 2,200 new launches just last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Compared to 17 years ago, when we were just under 500.
Yeah.
Talk about choice.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? I feel like the market is getting more and more saturated, and it's harder to stand out and do something different.
Yeah. It's also harder to pick trends up.
That's true.
Because there are so many fragrances. I have to say, also from doing research, the floral category for women is still by far the biggest. You've got 50% of the fragrances that are launched for women, marketed for women, are floral of some description.
And one of those which we have, which is from the year 2000, is Flower by Kenzo.
Yes.
So, good example of a floral. A powdery floral, though. I don't know if you know it.
It's verging on the oriental side. And actually, again, if you look at the stats, you've got quite a lot of oriental fragrances. About 22% of the new launches that are available for women are orientals.
Exactly.
Do you know, I love this. Hi, Mum. This is my mum. This is my mum. Because my mum wears this, and hi if you're watching. And it's so good.
So distinctive as well. So unusual. Not like anything else on the market.
It's amazing. It's so dry, so talcum powdery. But also really contrasting with that, sparkly at the same time.
Yes, it's a violet.
Yes. Yeah, it's incredible the way it does it. Because actually, there's this whole story about the poppy, isn't there? That this smells of violet and Bulgarian rose and musks, whereas actually on the bottle there is the poppy. And the whole point is that the poppy doesn't have a smell. So Kenzo invented the smell of the red poppy in this fragrance. That's the idea. So a real floral theme and an uplifting theme.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that. Very, very, it smells to me very vintage now, though.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I don't know if you can have anything vintage for just 17 years ago.
Maybe I think you can. Things move so quickly.
The other thing as well that is really interesting, talking of vintage, in this era, is that Chypres came back.
Yes. Because Chypres, have we done a video on Chypres?
We did. So we talked about Chypres in our autumn video.
Oh, that's right. So this time last year, we'll link it below. Chypres is a very kind of classic family that has that feel of glamour about it and opulence, but it's also the fragrance quite dry and powdery as well. And you're right, throughout the kind of 70s, 80s, 90s, there wasn't that much being launched in Chypres category, but then in the 2000s it's like the comeback. And
you kind of have the modern Chypres.
Slightly reworked. A good example of that is For Her by Narcisa Rodriguez, which is categorised as a modern Chypres. It's based around a musk note, Egyptian musk, and it has other Chypres ingredients like patchouli, like rose, it has warm amber, so it does fit in that family quite well.
So Chypres is one of the most structured and tailored and sophisticated fragrances, and this feels sophisticated to me.
Definitely. And this has really become a modern classic now, hasn't it?
It really has. It reminds me of kind of quite a mysterious almost old-fashioned bottle being painted on the inside like that. You can't really see the fragrance within.
It was inspired by a snuff, like a Chinese snuff bottle, I think.
And yet at the same time, very modern, you know, very sort of urban.
Yes.
There you go. So that was 2003.
2003, yes.
Okay. What else was going on at this period? I mean, I feel like men's fragrances was suddenly massive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel every single year men's grows faster than women's since 2000. And I think because men, why have they become more kind of educated on this idea of a fragrance wardrobe and more comfortable with going into a store and speaking to a sales assistant and trying different things? I don't know why why they have.
Don't you feel like, because also in the last 17 years we've had the rise of social media, blogging, vlogging.
True.
So there's so much more you can read and
it's not
research.
just glossy magazines that show you perfumes.
No, I mean you can, you know, tune into us as a guy knowing nothing about perfumes and suddenly feel like you've got some knowledge, so you hopefully so you can go into the store and say something. But I think there's been a whole grooming revolution for men. In general, you know, when I first started in perfumery, quite often the women would be out buying their scent for their man, or at least if the man was present, he would be with his other half.
Yeah, and they'd often have the same thing, wear the same thing day in, day out for years, and then to change would be a big deal, you know.
Yeah, but it's not like that now. If you're
not.
working in a store nowadays, on the perfumery or the beauty counters, you get guys coming in and they're much more savvy about what products they want.
And so they are buying more, and obviously we've had more launches because of that. So there's actually a stat on this as well that we got, which is that between 1990 and 2000 there was 700 men's launches, so categorised as men's, but then between 2010 and 2017, so only 7 years, there was 2,700 launches for men.
That's amazing.
That is huge, and that's not including like unisex fragrances.
This is
purely men's.
Just marketed for men. Yeah. I mean, the other thing as well in that is when you look at them, you see a rise in Oriental category for guys. Nowadays, you'll find a lot more in the market that is about 23%, I think, of new men's launches are Orientals.
Yes, and I think brands like Tom Ford have a big part to play in that, in bringing things that aren't just your fresh, citrusy. Classic.
I mean, look at oud, for example.
Exactly.
I mean, oud really, I suppose, is the woody category, but oud has suddenly become the ingredient of the last sort of, well, not even just 5 years, probably
more
last
than 10 years.
And it's amazing, but it is quite a change for our Western noses.
It is. And actually, someone that kind of did the Oriental and the deep and spicy way before it was trendy was Serge Lutens.
Yeah, of course.
And he is part of that rise of niche, like what is niche now, because it's kind of bigger than niche. But
I remember launching Serge Lutens. So and we launched one of the 5 fragrances, because there were obviously the fragrances from his boutique in Paris, and there was 5 of them that were picked to come sort of worldwide back in 2000.
In this kind of packaging,
And Ambre Sultan was one of them. And I remember clearly 17 years ago smelling this and thinking, wow, I haven't even considered wearing something like this on my skin. It is quite a statement. And of course nowadays people are looking for that. A lot of people want something unusual.
Yeah, this ambery, smoky, woody smell is, you know, most brands have something in that category nowadays.
Exactly. I mean, we're cheating a bit with this one because it was made in the 90s originally, but it doesn't matter.
But it kind of came to the masses in the year 2000. That's when the brand was really, really kind of put at the forefront. And, you know, Serge is very happy about the fact that he doesn't follow trends and he likes to set the trends, but not necessarily consciously. You know, he just does what he likes at the time, and often people follow that. So this was actually inspired by a piece of amber that Serge was given when he first went to Marrakesh in the 60s, that he kept in a box, in a wooden box, and then years later he opened it up and it's that smell. And for me, it is like, it's even like the smell of, you know, like an old piece of wooden furniture.
Yes.
When you open the drawer of it and you get that.
It's almost
intense.
Yeah. and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but almost musty.
Slightly like a library.
Yes.
Yeah, like books in a library.
But I still can
dusty.
smell the date element, the sort of plummy, figgy,
It is sweet,
dried fruit element of it
Yes.
as well. I mean, this is why I love niche, because actually the fragrances, you can unpick them, and there's lots and lots of stuff to talk about with niche in terms of the depth of unusual ingredients.
Yeah.
And I think people have become really interested in that in the last 17 years.
Yeah, the stories behind the fragrances, behind the creators, that's definitely a much bigger part of it. And, you know, because of social media, we're able to tell those stories much more easily, rather than just pictures in a magazine.
Exactly. So the contradiction or the contrast to that is that actually some people don't necessarily care about all of the in-depth ingredient stories or the creator or the perfumer, but they want to buy celebrity fragrance because they love the celebrity.
They're buying into that brand of that celebrity.
Absolutely. Look at J-Lo Glow.
I mean, that was
perfect
the
example.
First one, I think, wasn't it? Really, I remember going and trying it in store because it was like, you know, the big thing.
And it's still around.
It is
today.
And some celebrity, you know, there's a lot that come and go within a year, but there are some that stuck around, like Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah. I mean, she launched Lovely in 2005, and people still talk about it today.
Yes.
The Beckhams have stuck around.
Yeah. Britney Spears, Curious.
Well, and I just found out the other day that one of the biggest selling perfumes of this year so far has been Shawn Mendes.
It doesn't surprise me because I think it was it last year or the year before, the #1 fragrance for the year was the One Direction fragrance.
So there you go. So you can see, you know, although we talk in the perfume industry
we're
a lot,
bit kind of,
we talk about niche, and want something unusual. I mean, if you look at the mass market out there and what people are buying, the celebrity juice is still important for them.
It is. Yeah.
And designer.
Yes.
Because that kind of links me on to Jimmy Choo.
Yes. So, but it's buying into, I mean, to be honest, fragrance has always been about this, hasn't it? With these luxury brands, you know, it started with people like Chanel and Jean Patou. It's, if you can't, you know, necessarily afford the haute couture or the amazing shoes that are £400 or £500, you can afford the fragrance to buy into a part of that brand. So that's why something like Jimmy Choo, which we work with, has been so successful. I mean, it's the biggest women's fragrance launch ever in 2011 in this country.
It really is, and it's still, you know, because 6 years on now, it's still a massive seller in the market for our brands that Sarah and I work with. But it also ties in so perfectly with this popularity of the sweetie, gourmandy, edible, delicious,
sweetie, yes.
I mean, it's toffee, pear and toffee joined as one in this fragrance. You know, you've got that fizzy pear and the sort of succulent, juicy fruit, as well as that rich caramelised toffee base.
Yeah.
Very good. I mean, it just kind of captures, a lot of people are still looking for that kind of trend, which I think started in the 90s.
Yes, it did, when we talked about the gourmand trend, didn't we, in our 90s video.
So what's in store for the future?
To come? I don't know. There's a lot of people that work on perfume trends, and quite often there are trends that are spotted for the next year or so. I think last year they said tea fragrances was going to be a trend, and yes, there was a few, but because, like we said, there's so many thousands each year, unless something is huge, it doesn't make much of an impact in terms of a trend. So it's small things.
I have to say, when I was looking through again on the Michael Edwards database, the list of fragrances, and there are many of them that have launched even in the last 7 years, you know, there's a lot that have fallen by the wayside.
It's really hard now to create a pillar, like to create a classic fragrance. That's what every house is really trying to achieve.
Absolutely. So what do you wear at the moment, and has your taste changed since the previous decade? Would be interested to know.
And what do you think is to come? What do you think will be the trends of the future? Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.